in the same boat and you just didn't know.
I always say that when you start a business, it goes back to self, your integrity.
I'm Bontle Mapela, so I'm the owner and founder of Blackbeard Group. So we started in 2018. I've always had a love for construction.
What do you think about your mental well-being?
If you have a support system, fall back on it. It can be a friend that you call, hey, this is what's happening. Do you have a minute? Can we chat? It doesn't have to be business related. You could be chatting about anything, about Netflix, about a new K-drama that you've been watching. But that's the way. Yes, exactly. Just to offload.
Thank you for sharing your stories and your journeys as well. We've learned so much from this session, and touching on mental well-being and mentorship is an important one. Thank you so much for joining us. Can we please have a round of applause? So in sharing in the panel discussions and the questions that you have, you are able to identify a sister who is sitting with you in the same boat and you just didn't know.
I always say that when you start a business, it goes back to self, your integrity.
I'm Bontle Mapela, so I'm the owner and founder of Blackbeard Group. So we started in 2018. I've always had a love for construction.
What do you think about your mental well-being?
If you have a support system, fall back on it. It can be a friend that you call, hey, this is what's happening. Do you have a minute? Can we chat? It doesn't have to be business related. You could be chatting about anything, about Netflix, about a new K-drama that you've been watching. But that's the way. Yes, exactly. Just to offload.
Thank you for sharing your stories and your journeys as well. We've learned so much from this session, and touching on mental well-being and mentorship is an important one. Thank you so much for joining us. Can we please have a round of applause? So in sharing in the panel discussions and the questions that you have, you are able to identify a sister who is sitting with you in the same boat and you just didn't know.
I always say that when you start a business, it goes back to self, your integrity.
I'm Bontle Mapela, so I'm the owner and founder of Blackbeard Group. So we started in 2018. I've always had a love for construction.
What do you think about your mental well-being?
If you have a support system, fall back on it. It can be a friend that you call, hey, this is what's happening. Do you have a minute? Can we chat? It doesn't have to be business related. You could be chatting about anything, about Netflix, about a new K-drama that you've been watching. But that's the way. Yes, exactly. Just to offload.
Thank you for sharing your stories and your journeys as well. We've learned so much from this session, and touching on mental well-being and mentorship is an important one. Thank you so much for joining us. Can we please have a round of applause? So in sharing in the panel discussions and the questions that you have, you are able to identify a sister who is sitting with you in the same boat and you just didn't know.
I always say that when you start a business, it goes back to self, your integrity.
I'm Bontle Mapela, so I'm the owner and founder of Blackbeard Group. So we started in 2018. I've always had a love for construction.
What do you think about your mental well-being?
If you have a support system, fall back on it. It can be a friend that you call, hey, this is what's happening. Do you have a minute? Can we chat? It doesn't even have to be business related. You could be chatting about anything, about Netflix, about a new K-drama that you've been watching. But that's the way. Yes, exactly. Just to offload.
Thank you for sharing your stories and your journeys as well. We've learned so much from this session, and touching on mental well-being and mentorship is an important one. Thank you so much for joining us. Can we please have a round of applause? So in sharing in the panel discussions and the questions that you have, you are able to identify a sister who is sitting with you in the same boat and you just didn't know.
I always say that when you start a business, it goes back to self, your integrity.
I'm Bontle Mapela, so I'm the owner and founder of Blackbeard Group. So we started in 2018. I've always had a love for construction.
What do you think about your mental well-being?
If you have a support system, fall back on it. It can be a friend that you call, hey, this is what's happening. Do you have a minute? Can we chat? It doesn't even have to be business related. You could be chatting about anything, about Netflix, about a new K-drama that you've been watching. But that's the way. Yes, exactly. Just to offload.
Thank you for sharing your stories and your journeys as well. We've learned so much from this session, and touching on mental well-being and mentorship is an important one. Thank you so much for joining us. Can we please have a round of applause? So in sharing in the panel discussions and the questions that you have, you are able to identify a sister who is sitting with you in the same boat and you just didn't know.
I always say that when you start a business, it goes back to self, your integrity.
I'm Bontle Mapela, so I'm the owner and founder of Blackbeard Group. So we started in 2018. I've always had a love for construction.
What do you think about your mental well-being?
If you have a support system, fall back on it. It can be a friend that you call, hey, this is what's happening. Do you have a minute? Can we chat? It doesn't even have to be business related. You could be chatting about anything, about Netflix, about a new K-drama that you've been watching. But that's the way. Yes, exactly. Just to offload.
Thank you for sharing your stories and your journeys as well. We've learned so much from this session, and touching on mental well-being and mentorship is an important one. Thank you so much for joining us. Can we please have a round of applause? So in sharing in the panel discussions and the questions that you have, you are able to identify a sister who is sitting with you in the same boat and you just didn't know.
I always say that when you start a business, it goes back to self, your integrity.
I'm Bontle Mabela, so I'm the owner and founder of Blackbeard Group. So we started in 2018. I've always had a love for construction.
What do you think about your mental well-being?
If you have a support system, fall back on it. It can be a friend that you call, hey, this is what's happening. Do you have a minute? Can we chat? It doesn't even have to be business related. You could be chatting about anything, about Netflix, about a new K-drama that you've been watching. But that's the way. Yes, exactly. Just to offload.
Thank you for sharing your stories and your journeys as well. We've learned so much from this session, and touching on mental well-being and mentorship is an important one. Thank you so much for joining us. Can we please have a round of applause? So in sharing the panel discussions and the questions that you have, you are able to identify a sister who is sitting with you in the same boat and you just didn't know.
I always say that when you start a business, it goes back to self, your integrity.
I'm Bontle Mabela, so I'm the owner and founder of Blackbeard Group. So we started in 2018. I've always had a love for construction.
What do you think about your mental well-being?
If you have a support system, fall back on it. It can be a friend that you call, hey, this is what's happening. Do you have a minute? Can we chat? It doesn't even have to be business related. You could be chatting about anything, about Netflix, about a new K-drama that you've been watching. But that's the way. Yes, exactly. Just to offload.
Thank you for sharing your stories and your journeys as well. We've learned so much from this session, and touching on mental well-being and mentorship is an important one. Thank you so much for joining us. Can we please have a round of applause? So in sharing the panel discussions and the questions that you have, you are able to identify a sister who is sitting with you in the same boat and you just didn't know.
I always say that when you start a business, it goes back to self, your integrity.
I'm Bontle Mabela, so I'm the owner and founder of Blackbeard Group. So we started in 2018. I've always had a love for construction.
What do you think about your mental well-being?
If you have a support system, fall back on it. It can be a friend that you call, hey, this is what's happening. Do you have a minute? Can we chat? It doesn't even have to be business related. You could be chatting about anything, about Netflix, about a new K-drama that you've been watching. But that's the way. Yes, exactly. Just to offload.
See it. We've just got a few more people that are wrapping up on the line. Please just do bear with me. What I would love to check is if you're sitting next to an empty seat, and empty not because the person's in the line, but empty because the seat is available, please can you raise your hands? We just want to see, hi, please. And can you keep them raised, please? We just want to get a sense of how many ladies we can still let in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so can I ask, before the 12 come in, that we just get the room settled, and then we will invite the 12 ladies. must be really good. Not a single response. So thank you very much to Alan Gray, Makers Fest, and all the sponsors for a delicious lunch. But we've got some work to do as well. So let me try again. Good afternoon, ladies. Sanbonani. Molweni. Ewe. Itumeleng. Bonjour. Ça va bien, merci. Now, ladies, thank you so much. I see the line is still there, but I have my utmost trust that everybody's going as fast as they can. I'm going to get us started anyway. And I'm going to ask for your kind attention. So we do, of course, have the cutlery in the background, but if we can just give each other kind attention, we'll then be able to get the show on the road. Before I call up my panelists, I want to establish a few things in the room. The first of these is that as a conversation strategist, I'm in the business of conversations that are geared to building better, stronger societies. And every single one of those conversations is actually dependent on the very woman in this room. Every strategic, critical sector, whether it is water, whether it's energy, whether it's logistics, whether it's infrastructure broadly, depends on the work of the people in this room. So I want to start off by saying this is a conversation that we're going to be having today of national importance. And I think it's important to locate ourselves within that context. The second reality that I want to land and ground in the room, I have someone desperately calling for a friend and gets spoon. They'll come. They're making their way in. The second reality that I want to land is that despite the many gains that we've had as a country, where increasingly women are graduating with the right skills for the trade sector, bias still seems to show up in the room in favor of men. So women are saying, you asked me to have the qualification, here it is. And now, despite the fact that I have the qualification, the door remains locked. And that's a conversation we need to have. Where women have been able to get into the trade sector, many of them are recounting stories of not being able to grow and not being able to contribute to these key sectors of the economy that I mentioned because they are women. And when they come to the door knocking and asking for finance, they're oftentimes having a conversation that is fundamentally different from what their male counterparts would be having. So we need to be asking the question of how do we begin to break down the last frontier for women, and oftentimes that is the frontier of financing, so that they're not only entering the industry, but they're able to grow and expand their businesses as well. And so today's conversation is an invitation for all of us in this room to go beyond the toolbox and to think critically about the innovative financing tools that are available for the women who are trailblazing in trades. Are we up for that conversation? All right. Now, I'm going to issue you another invitation. It's the final invitation before I invite my panelists up. In our briefing with the panelists, we all agreed that the last thing that we want to do this afternoon is to talk at you for an hour. We don't want to do that. We want to be in conversation with you. So I'd really like for you to bring your lived experience into the room. Whether you are a woman aspiring to get into trades or a woman already and looking to grow and expand, we're looking for your questions. We're looking for your comments. We're looking for your experiences. And so to the best of my ability, I'm going to keep coming to you to drive this conversation. right? So, let me then invite my panelists to join me. Apparently, I'm going to sit in the middle. So I'll stay right here. I'm going to ask Itumeleng Dlamini to come up. Let's give Itu a big round of applause. And Itu is the head of programs at SAB Foundation. She's also a social innovation enabler. And she's going to tell us what that means. So any seat that you'd like. We don't have to run away from the flowers. I think the flowers will come in handy. But let's see. Kgaugelo Tsoka is with us. Let's give Kgaugelo a big round of applause. So Kgaugelo is an area manager at the Innovation Hub. She works for and with the Ikasi Labs program, where she has a specific focus on entrepreneurs in the township. She comes into this conversation as young as she looks, with 13 years of experience in enterprise development and how to drive innovation in ecosystems. So thank you very much, Kgaugelo, for being here. Allow me to call up Chipo Mushwana onto stage. Just give Chipo a big round of applause. And Chipo, when you come up on stage, I'll say, I actually love your shoes, and you'll see why, because we're wearing the same thing. I want to say you have it's a similar pair at least. You have a great taste in shoes. Chipo is a specialist in fintech, in payments, in emerging technologies. She is also passionate about entrepreneurship in general and small business in particular. So much so that she's also founded something called Women in Payments Africa. So we talk about women who create platforms that launch other women. Isn't that absolutely fantastic? Chipo, welcome, and a big round of applause. And then finally, I thought it was so exciting that on this panel, they're not only talking to the financiers, the women who literally hold the strings to the purse, but we're also talking to a woman in the industry. So she comes onto the stage as the absolute epitome of what we're talking about when we talk about trailblazers in trade. 20 years in the industry, multiple awards, so much so that if I had to call out all these awards, I think by then we'd all be going back to the main sessions. But more importantly, she's a trailblazer in the construction industry, and she's the first black woman to have opened a CETA-accredited plumbing training college in her own right. Let's give Celeste Le Roux a big round of applause. May I also ask the team to please make sure that my roving mic is live and ready, because I'm going to be going to the audience very quickly. As I sit down, and as we wait for Celeste, there we go. Thank you, Celeste. Are you comfortable in the flower? Okay, fantastic. I want to set the tone for the conversation in the room. Yes, we're going to talk about the challenges that women confront in accessing finance. Because we need to know what those challenges are. But we're not going to sit and drown in the challenges. We're here to have a conversation that surfaces solutions, shows us where those innovative financing opportunities are, creates the pathways for women to get there, so that each and every one of you walk out of this room with feeling empowered that you have somewhere to go and a door to knock on. So my first question to all of you is going to be exactly the same. And Lisa, I'm going to start with you. In 30 seconds, I want to know, what is the most exciting, innovative financing instrument that you have come across in your line of work that you think could be a potential game changer, not only for tradespeople generally, but specifically for women? 30 seconds on this one.
Okay. Well, what I want to discuss briefly is not necessarily...
Sorry, Itu, can I just check at the back? Can you hear Itu well? No. Okay. Can we boost her, please, technical team? Thank you. And then just a bit higher, Itu.
What I want to talk about briefly is not necessarily innovative or exciting, but it's been a form of financing that's existed for quite a while. And I think it's a form of funding that not many of us access or are aware of. And one of those is the grants. Okay? Guys, grants are powerful, right? Because grants are able to, well, they are there to enable you to be able to test your business model, right? And test your product market fitness to enable you to then go into the market confidently and be able to trade and to access market opportunities. A lot of us don't really think about grants, and I think maybe it's because we're not well informed about what exists. Trust me, grants are there, and we need to utilize them to get us to the next level. So that's the one thing. But the one thing that as a foundation we've done incredibly well is to customize our funding to meet you where you are. So for example, we provide grant funding at the very early stage and sometimes at a pre-revenue stage. And I can explain that to you afterwards because people will be thinking, ooh, you know, I need to talk about the pre-revenue stuff. But we provide funding at that level, right, to enable you to test the model, as I said earlier. But as your business evolves and grows and requires further on financing, then we look at loans, we look at concession loans. Some are interest-bearing, but all of that is really dependent on your stage of the business, the sector that you are operating in, and as well as the business requirements that you have. So what I'm trying to say, I guess, is that we as a company try and customize the kind of support that we provide. Yeah, and all of that depends on the stage on the business requirements.
It would have the longest 30 seconds I've ever come across in my life. But what a beautiful and pointed answer that you've given us. Saying, don't lose sight of grants, but also, if you are thinking about reaching out to the SAP Foundation, it is about meeting you where you're at. So I think that's really helpful because oftentimes products or financing products are prepackaged and it's about either this is what you take or you leave it. And to hear that there's an openness to customization and meeting you where you're at and where your business is at is really exciting. Kgaugelo, Itu started off this by saying, well, it's not going to be very exciting, so I'm really hoping you're going to give us something exciting. An exciting financing, innovative financing instrument that you've come across that you think could be an absolute game changer.
Thank you so much for having me today. So one of the innovative and exciting financial instruments that we have, that we've actually established at the Innovation Hub, is the GAP competition. It's called the Gauteng Accelerator Program. Now what we try to do with the competition is that we try to get innovators to actually come up with solutions that address socio-economic challenges. And the participants that actually go to the finals get a chance to become incubated with the Innovation Hub. And we then offer them various interventions and support. But the main support that we give them, which becomes, a challenge, which is access to funding, is that every winner will receive seed capital. And that seed capital is then distributed or dispersed in trenches to assist the business with product development and later then getting to a commercialization stage where the product now goes into the market and it also then makes a meaningful impact as it's supposed to.
When is the competition open?
We are actually now currently busy with the invite. So the poster will be all over our social media platforms. So look out for that under the Innovation Hub social media.
Kgaugelo is so smart. She's like, I'm not going to give you the website. You need to follow, press, like, subscribe first on our social media platforms, and then you get the information. But what's really interesting is to hear the intentionality around bridging financing as well as solving social economic problems. I think what's also nice is listening to the opportunities around seed capital. It mentioned pre-revenue, and hopefully we'll talk a little bit about that. And Kgaugelo is telling us a little bit about what's possible in the Innovation Hub. So I hope you're already following, subscribing, liking, and everything so that you get that poster when it comes out. Celeste, I'm going to come to you last because I'm going to jump to Chipo first. Chipo, what's exciting you right now when you're thinking about standing out and jumping out at you?
Sure, I'm going to mention three things, and I think the departure point for me is banks want to lend money. We're in the business of lending money. There's a lot of banks don't support small businesses. I think that's true. So banks want to lend money. The first one being merchant cash advance. And it comes in different forms, but essentially when you've got a physical point of sale machine and you get a loan from Nedbank, you settle that loan daily. So every time you run transactions through the point of sale machine, you're settling your loan. So you don't settle at the end of the month. That for me is really exciting, particularly for high risk environments. And also what happens is in low seasons, you pay less of the loan. In peak seasons, you pay off more of your loan. And I think that's really great, and it's flexible enough for small businesses. The other thing that we've done is, you might have heard something around thin files, particularly for female entrepreneurs. Thin files means we don't have enough data on you to be able to make an informed decision about how much money we should lend you and your ability to pay it back. So when we design products and solutions, particularly payment solutions, we're giving you the ability to convert your handset into a point of sale machine. So you don't need to pay 1,400, whatever the case may be, to buy a physical point machine. You can convert your phone to do that. And what that does is it begins to bolster your file, your credit or business file, so that we're able to lend to you. Underpinning all this, lastly, is alternative credit scoring. And this is a means through which we're able to collect other data outside of your business that makes us make a decision around lending you. So who you engage with on social media, what you do, how you spend money. We collect all those data points and we create a profile around female X, and we're able to lend money. So those are some of the things that are happening in the financial services space that I think are really exciting.
So as you're talking about alternative credit scoring and where you're sourcing the information and you're mentioning social media, I'm hoping people are having moments with themselves about their Instagram accounts and what they look like and what you're posting and what Chipo's going to find, and is it going to make you a candidate for a loan or not? Because I think this is important. We've got to be thinking about these things holistically. I love the what you're sharing around the point of sales and how we're thinking of introducing flexibility in that space. And of course, the reality of thin files, because for a lot of small businesses, maybe our files are thin and we do need to bolster those. And so that's really exciting. But, guys, we can sit here, Itu, Kgaugelo, Chipo, myself, we can sit here and talk about the most exciting things. If we don't test them with the likes of Celeste, who's actually in the field, we might as well be talking to ourselves, right? So, Celeste, the most honest response from you as you respond to the question of, is there anything exciting that you're seeing right now when you're considering what's available in the market in terms of innovative financing? They don't want to hear from Celeste.
Hello. Yes. Good afternoon, everybody, and all you beautiful ladies. I just want to start off by saying we're all here for the same reason, right? And we understand that financing is the lifeline of any business. Some of us might enjoy it, and if you're anything like me, you stray away from it. But you know what? I'm a very firm believer in enterprise development programs. And why I say that is they have the capacity as their institution to go and source funding for your business. And I can say this because our business came from an EDP program, which allowed us to scale, not only scale at any time, but during COVID. I mean, we opened our college in the middle of COVID, so I firmly believe in EDP. I like what you said earlier about the handset. As a business owner, what makes sense to me is revenue-based finance. When you go to a bank, they give you a loan, but you have fixed terms, and every month you pay a premium every month. And they don't consider the high seasons or the low seasons. And I'm sure if you're anything like our business, you do have those times. And so revenue-based financing makes sense to me because an institution then takes a percentage of your future revenue. So when those seasons are low and when the seasons are high, they do it according to your revenue that you bring in. So that's something that's important, I think, that needs to be looked at. Yeah, so that's about it. And also another practical thing. Yeah. I'm not sure if any of you are, business owners. How many of you spend more than 60 days waiting for payment from a client? And all you need to do is just pay your salaries, just pay your wages. And so what I like is invoice financing and invoice factoring. And what that means is they sort of buy your invoice from you, and they will wait for you, so it will cover you for those times before your client pays you. However, I personally favor invoice financing, because with factoring, you then giving the institution control to contact your client. And so you don't necessarily want that. I don't want my client to know what's going on in my business, whether I can afford it right now or not. And so always to have that control, I think, is very important. And that's the practical solutions that I can offer, because I've used them personally.
So I absolutely love that. ED programs, invoice financing. So what we're going to do, I want you just to keep track of what we've heard. Grants, loans, pre-revenue options, competitions for social innovation competitions, banks that actually have the appetite to lend and want to lend. And so are looking at things like point of sales, are looking at alternative credit scoring, EDP programs, invoice financing. And I want you to do this for me. It's going to feel like a bit of a church moment, but just bear with me. I want you to turn to the person next to you. And based on what you've just heard for the last 5 minutes, what are you going to go find out about that you didn't know about? Because we're going to start there, so we don't walk away in this room empty-handed. And just for 2 minutes, what's one interesting thing you've heard so far that you're going to go and do for yourself from here on? Let's give them a moment to have a church moment. Because if you open it up now, it's all right, ladies, do I have you back in the room? Clap once if you can hear me. Clap twice if you can hear me. Clap thrice if we're all back. Fantastic. Now, remember that at the end of the day, it is about your agency to act on what you've heard. If there's one thing we're going to walk out of this room with, is a pathway to go and get the financing and support we need, right? So, Itu, I want to come back to you. And I want you to outline for us and share with us, and you have more than 30 seconds this time. What are some of the SAB Foundation's programs that are designed for women, intentional about women, and that you think that women in trades should be paying attention to?
Great. So for those of you who've never come across the SAB Foundation program, we are the BEE Trust of South African Breweries. We were established in 2010. And our mandate is to invest in social innovation and entrepreneurship that primarily benefits women, youth, people with disabilities, as well as people in rural areas. So those are our key beneficiary groups, or as I learned earlier this morning, that we're no longer calling it beneficiaries, but rather participants, right, or partners. And I'm really excited about this provocation. So that's who we are as a foundation, and we've been operating for as many years as I've just explained. So our approach really is more of a spectrum and more of a kind of long-term approach when we deal with entrepreneurs such as yourselves, right? So we provide support, and by support I mean funding as well as business development support, which includes business skills training, mentorship, sometimes coaching, as well as technical support to enable you and your business to reach the next level of development. And so we provide support from seed stage, and we have programs that are aligned to that seed stage level. And so go onto our website and have a look at what we offer from that perspective. And then as the business evolves and grows, again, the long-term thing is that then you can then apply for follow-on support and funding. So how we treat you and your business at seed stage is very different from how we treat you at startup and then at growth stage. And like I mentioned earlier, we then provide support and the funding across that value chain. So for us, when you start with us at the very beginning, we deal with you as a business for many, many years. And when you come to us at growth stage with a growth opportunity that you've identified, depending on the sector, you've identified there's a need maybe to scale into other areas, we then provide that support. And so that's that value chain approach. So that's how we look at it as a foundation. And another thing we do is we measure the businesses that we support over a 5-year period. Because then we can tell what are the challenges, what are the changes that happen through that transition, and how do we build better programs to support as you transition over that 5-year period. We have been successful and have worked across sectors. So the trades is one of many sectors that we support, so we are sector agnostic. And the one program that I actually want to bring to your attention today, and it's actually open and you can go on there and apply, because applications open on Monday, is the Tulwana Enterprise Program. So we are looking for women-owned businesses, youth-owned, people with disabilities, people in rural areas across sectors. And this needs to be a business that has already been operating for at least a year or more. You need to be able to demonstrate that there is a growth opportunity within your business, whatever sector, and apply there in order to access the kind of support that I just mentioned earlier.
I can hear a whispers around spelling of Tulwana coming from this table. I could be
Tulwana.
broader. So maybe can you just spell for us?
Just go to the SAB Foundation website. It will literally be on your landing page. Okay, it's www.sabfoundation.co.za.
I absolutely love that, because I'm hearing the murmurs and I'm seeing the agitation. Like we need to write this down. We need to go and get this. But Itu, thank you for that. A value chain approach from seed all the way to growth. And it reminds me actually of a conversation I was moderating yesterday, and one of the panelists said, the people who make the biggest difference in life have a long hope and a deep patience. And so when you talk about the 5-year horizon, I hope that it's comforting and encouraging to the women entrepreneurs in the room, because it does speak to a long hope for you and a deep patience for the growth around your business. And then, of course, we are going to go to the Tulwana. We're going to go to the SAB Foundation page, get the spelling of Tulwana, and make sure that come Monday, we are there.
Just as a warning, the application form is quite comprehensive, so don't take it for granted. Start now and make sure you complete by Monday.
Yeah, I actually think that's important, because sometimes we then lament the complexity of the application process. But if the journey is going to be that supportive and that comprehensive, let's do our best in terms of completing those forms. Kgaugelo, let's come to your programs at the Innovation Hub. You're in these really interesting, sexy sectors, right? So you guys are in the green economy, the bioeconomy, the smart industries. What I'm interested in knowing is, how are you adapting your programs so that they can speak to the unique needs of tradespeople and women in trades?
Thank you so much for the question. And I'd like to start off by saying that the Innovation Hub has been very intentional about establishing an extension of our incubation program in the various townships in Gauteng. So we are located in 10 different townships in Gauteng, and we run a program called the Egasi Labs program. And what we do in the Egasi Labs program is that we are also strategically positioned in TVET colleges. So our Ekasila program runs within TVET colleges. And our interest there is that we want to get women who are artisans or in trade to actually cultivate the spirit of entrepreneurship and innovation in the township landscape. Our programs are designed to provide support to these companies with access to market opportunities, access to funding, which is always the big one. And we also provide mentorship programs as well for both technical and business mentorship. We know that already the women that are in trade already have the skill. So you find that most of them already have the skill that they've acquired, but they're not so sure when it comes to business acumen or how to actually run a business. So we provide training as well to our skilled women so that they are able to actually run a successful business. And not just a business that will be successful, but one that will be profitable, sustainable, and one that will also create jobs. We have a pre-incubation program and a core incubation program. So our pre-incubation is more focused on our startups who are still at an idea stage or where they've got a product that they've already developed and they need further assistance and development or refinement. And what is interesting with our program is that we also assist our companies with product testing. So we ensure that the product is fully compliant and it has been tested before it actually goes to the market. We then have our core incubation, where is the second stage of incubation, where if you already are an existing entrepreneur with an operational business, then we look at what your needs are. But we mainly focus there on access to market opportunities, where we actually go out there aggressively and we look for retailers or wholesalers or consumers that are actually going to utilize the product or the service that you are offering. And then lastly, we also have fabrication labs as part of the Innovation Hub. And these fabrication labs are actually based in the city of Ekurhuleni in the various townships. We've got fabrication labs that are there as resources to actually give an opportunity to makers that aren't able to actually acquire the resources on their own, to actually have a space where they can create, prototype developments or actually craft their art. These fabrication spaces are available if you want to access them. And should you be interested and you are within the city of Ekurhuleni, you don't necessarily have to be part of our incubation program, but it is open to the community if you are in the business of trade and you actually want access to resources and tools where you're able to actually enhance and develop your products.
Sure, I think that's a long list of, a great list of opportunities that you've listed there. I just want to do a quick stress test in the room. Who in this room is in a township or operating from a township? 5. Oh. Okay, fantastic. And I think that's important because I think even if we might not live in townships now, we can all root ourselves back one way or the other to a township. And if we begin to think about our townships as well, where we come from, as marketplaces, every single one of these opportunities becomes available. So let me ask the question again and slightly differently. Who here has a link or a connection to a township? Okay, still more or less, okay, a few more. We have quite a number of people, Bryanston and Santon babies in the house, it seems. But I think that's very important how the Innovation Hub is actually going to the source of where we want to make the difference. What excites me the most, though, is the understanding that not every artisan or tradesperson necessarily has business skills. And how do we begin to close that gap so that entrepreneurship doesn't seem to be inaccessible? So, Chipo, let me come to you. And we've been talking all sorts of amazing programs and interventions here, I'm going to ask you to be the voice of not doom and gloom, but just to bring back a dose of reality into the room. And that is to put the question to you to say, from a bank perspective, for you to go and decide that you need to look at alternative credit scoring and so on, it means that you are aware of certain challenges that women are confronted with, and they're not, you're seeing the applications potentially, but the funding is not following. Talk to us a little bit about what are you seeing as maybe just even the top 3 financial barriers or funding challenges that women entrepreneurs are struggling to get over?
Sure, I'll do that. The first one being no collateral, right? Where women don't have the balance sheet or the asset base to be able to support commercial lending requirements. And that's a big thing. And I think as women, when you become financially active, you need to think about those things even from a very young age. Whether you're married or not, you need to have your own financial history that the bank can look at, right? That's very important. The second one that has already been touched on is around financial acumen. And for us, from a banking perspective, reporting standards need to be in place, and that needs to be verified. A lot of small businesses that we engage with treat their businesses like mom and pop stores. It's not. If you want to build a scalable and a sustainable business, you need to have the systems and the processes in place from day one. Do not say, I'm going to do this in year 3, in year 4, in year 5, because you'll never get to doing it. Because once you build a bad habit in a business, it only just grows with the number of people that join the business. So make sure your reporting is in check, your tax obligations are in check, all those things are in check, in line with what it is that you want to do in your business. And I guess the other one for it is the inability to articulate your value proposition. And this probably links to gender bias that we see in the industry, but you need to understand as a female, before you even open your mouth, there's a bias that exists, especially if you're in male-dominated environments. What that essentially means is you need to be able to state your worth, state your value very clearly in under 15 minutes. So we have a lot of women that have got great ideas but are unable to articulate what they're actually selling and what the actual value proposition is. Practice your pitch, practice your proposal, understand how you're going to price, how you're going to collect the payments. All those things need to be in check, and you probably need to be more prepared than your male counterparts in that regard.
Sure.
Pretty
Chipo,
much.
thank you very much. So this practice that Ubaba is going to take care of, it has to come to an end. And I think, Chipo, you know, it's such a, we're in a safe space as women, and I think it's really encouraging to hear you reinforce the importance of just being aware of your own financial history, your own balance sheet, your own collateral, your own assets. And this is a conversation about financing trade, so I'm not going to go off on a tangent, but I think you know where this conversation should go, right? Financial acumen. You know, we oftentimes would joke and say, you know, mom and pop shops, but actually that is a real thing where your business stays small unnecessarily because of the way and the attitude that we're bringing to it. Reporting, taxes, and all sorts, and of course, being able to articulate your value proposition. I want to offer you in the room, you know, when you talk about making sure that you can articulate this in 15 minutes or less, to go onto social media and look up Fawn Weaver. And she talks a lot about, she has a whiskey business in the US, which is $1 billion business today, $1 billion. And she's oftentimes the only woman in the room, and has a lot of strategies around how do you ensure that your voice is heard when you're the only voice in the room. So I really think it's worth looking up. So thank you, Chipo, for all of that. I'm not trying to make this side doom and gloom, guys. I'm just trying to balance the conversation, because I'm coming to Celeste with challenges as well. And I want to say, Celeste, you spoke about invoice financing, you spoke about ED programs, But what I'm inviting you to speak about is, if you think about the challenges that have been unique to you because of the sector that you find yourself in, what do you hope Itu, Kgaugelo, and Chipo knew when they think about the programs that they're designing and the financial instruments that they're designing as well?
Thank you for that question. So I'm going to give a practical example and speak about my own experience, right? So we were awarded a job, we were given a PO, client had signed it off. However, to execute this job, we needed financing. And then we went to our bank that was there at inception. So this bank had seen how we had scaled our business. So we were comfortable enough to go to them and say, we need X amount of money to execute this. The sad reality is, they said no. And we couldn't understand why. Just not a good enough reason. And we kept on telling the bank manager, come to our operation. Come and see the assets and the equipment that we have that's of value. Come and understand what we do. And the only answer, and I think this is what I might, suggest, is the only thing that bank had told us was, as soon as you are in construction, it's a high risk for the bank. And I'm like, but there are so many things within construction. You don't even know what place I'm coming from. Eventually, we went with a partner that did understand, that did take the time to come to our business, to come and see how we operated the business. And this is another thing. Sometimes, I'm not sure if you guys experience this, but when you say that you are an entrepreneur, people assume that there was nothing else in life for you to do. Okay, so just by that, I understand. Hey. So let's keep it real. So obviously, with that intention or with that mindset, the bank had looked at us. Another thing is, I feel so old when I say this, but with my generation, and I'm sure the people in my generation can attest to this, we didn't come from generational wealth. We have businesses now where we are building legacy for the next generation and the next generation. So when people say, what are the advantages? We didn't have that added advantage. And now we're supposed to show our worth. We must show our credit score. How do you build up a credit score when people aren't giving you credit? Just make it make sense for me for a moment. So I think we have to be innovative. I do think that organizations, EDP programs, need to understand the needs of a business, need to come physically into that business to say, what are you struggling with? What are your challenges? And then from there, make a pathway into what you envision your business to be.
Sure. Round of applause for Celeste. I think that's powerful. So when we say we'll meet you where you're at, we actually mean meet. As in like, come meet. It's not meeting me when you're in the boardroom and I'm on the shop floor, right? It's two different things. I love what you talk about when you talk about the reality is that we don't come from wealth. So the majority of us in this room don't come from generational wealth. And so maybe we don't have the collateral. And so it's so exciting to hear, Chipo saying, oh, maybe the banks are starting to get it now. They're starting to hear that. And I just think it's fascinating, the bias of thinking that you didn't have an option. I met a lady earlier on. She told me that she's in the business, the cement business. That does not sound like not having options. That sounds very intentional, building concrete structures. My goodness. So I want to open up the conversation. Please, technical team, if I can have some roving mics. I'm keen to take questions, but also if you have a comment, happy to take that comment. My only request, sharp, short, concise, to the point. And let me share something with you as a conversation strategist. If your question is more than 10 words long, it's no longer a question. Okay? So we're going to be that sharp, that short, that concise, and that to the point. Do I have any questions? Do I have any comments? Yes, I see your hand. I see a hand there. All right, and what I'll do is I'll notate the questions and the comments, and then I'll weave them through, so not to worry. Please go ahead. And please introduce yourself. No, we can't.
still can't. Oh,
Yeah, we can
there.
hear you now.
Good afternoon, ladies. Very beautiful day today it is. So my name is Debbie Dlongwa from the University of Pretoria Mamelodi Business Hub. And we work closely with small businesses. And I think the panelist is actually an opportunity for me to actually now vouch for the Mamelodi Business Hub, as we are seeking like funding and sponsorship for entrepreneurs in our community, as they also lack resources. And I'm glad that I'm going to meet your what's your name again, ma'am? Kgaugelo, yes, from the Innovation Hub. And I've also heard a lot of entrepreneurs, as I know Lufuno. Lufuno is also one of the best entrepreneurs in our Mamelodi community, as because she's also an inspiring woman, you know, as she was brave enough to actually be in the kind of industry. So my plea is that how can all 4 women assist us in actually uplifting Mamelodi, and also creating like an opportunity for the entrepreneurs to create sustainable businesses. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Debbie. So I will put that to Kgaugelo. So if the rule of 10 words is a question, how many questions was that, Debbie? 5 or 6, I think. But I think it's a great question. Focus on Mamelodi. Maybe we'll have a comment there. There was another hand here. Please go ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Itumeleng Dlamini. I am the founder of Adam Brooks. This is a comment. It's not a question. Sure. But I am the benefactor of Tolwana.
Participant.
Yes. She's right when she says it's intentional and it needs dedication. You need to show that you really, this is your business. And I'm also the benefactor of the Innovation Hub in Kagiso.
Hi, Kifilwe.
So they have taken my brand from, it was a brand, and everything was not right. And when I got into the incubation, they gave me an A number, an export license, mentors, and my business doesn't have financial, what do you say? I don't have
a track record.
No, like your like a property. But what we have done is, because I was seeking funding and investors, so the Innovation Hub gave me a financial advisor who actually went into the business plan, and we checked if one had to invest in terms of a stock, how much ratio and percentage, and I can vouch, like they're very intentional, you have to be dedicated, and you need to show that you really loving your business, and this is your baby. Thank you.
Sure, well done. And I don't know if you saw this, guys, very strategic. So Kifilwe starts there, says, you know, SAP Foundation, you know, and then by the time she was talking about money, she was looking there. She was very clear without saying a lot. So Kifilwe, but what I love about what you're sharing with us is your agency and your intentionality to go out and seek the opportunities. And this lunch is about replicating that spirit and energy amongst all of us and seeing that growth. So I'm really happy to hear that. Do I have on this side of the room, do I have a hand? Oh, I've got only this side. Okay, let's have those 3 and then we'll wrap it. I'll come back to the panel after that. Please go ahead.
Hi everyone. My name is Sibonisile Mbata. I'm from Kandla. My question is to Celeste. I would also like to open my own training center, which will not only teach artisans to be artisans, but also to be business owners, because we spend more time on the technical side. And whenever we switch the side, we struggle. So I've been an apprentice twice, and I've experienced this twice. So I want to open my own training center. So I want to know, where can I start? What do I need? Thanks.
Sure. Swansile, it's a fantastic question. I love that. And we'll bring that to you, Celeste. So more than just artisanal skills, business skills. And I think that probably resonates with you, Kgaugelo, as well. There was another hand at that very table. Yeah, please go ahead. And then we'll go to the table this side, and then we'll close it off with Nonhlanhla here. Please go for it.
Good afternoon, ladies. My name is Lindy, founder of Linotando Electrical and Lenaneo Electrical. Basically, I have I don't know if it's a comment or advice.
Go for it. Try us.
Whatever it is. Okay, so I say that I will be a little bit out of topic.
It's okay.
Okay, so I say that most of the times as entrepreneurs, we get frustrated about these fundings, time, compliance, and all that. I just want to say, ladies, sometimes let's look at what else can we do to start our businesses or to grow our businesses. Let's not only focus on loans, funding, and stuff like that. I did collaboration. I approached some guy. You know what? I want to pull my projects. Do we have the resources? I had projects. The guy had money. He had all the backers. So let's also look at things like that. Because at the end of the day, you cannot wait for the whole year for compliance and funding when clients are waiting for your service.
Akasafuna ukubuyisa microphone uMalindi.
Okay, guys, as I close, I will be very short. So also, my other concern, ladies, is, you see, the room is full of us. But when we get to a site, trust me, it's only me and 14 guys on site. Where are you? Because I only see you here. On site, you are not there. Where are you, ladies? Like, that's a serious concern. Let's not only be doing office work as well. Let's go to site.
I think that's a brilliant point. I think, Lindy, that's a brilliant, brilliant point. Where are you? In the space that's contested, that gives and builds what the industry considers as credibility. Where are you? Are you at that space of contestation? So I think it's a brilliant, brilliant point that you raised, and thank you for that. So I'm going to come to you, and then I'm going to come to the front.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
My name is Martha. I'm from the Center for Entrepreneurship Rapid Incubator, based in Sekhukhune, Groblersdal, CS Balo campus. So I want to speak to the invoice funding, but in perspective of PO. The biggest challenge that we're experiencing with our SMS is that the turnaround time, it takes too long. By the time the funding is approved, we are a little too late. It's out of perspective altogether. And of course, we are strategically based at the TVET College so that we bring about those artisans, the student premiers. So these people don't have collateral. They don't have those fancy balance sheet, unfortunately. We're still working on them. But at the same time, they are having clients. They are running their smaller businesses that they get clients with. You know, you get artisans that are making gates, for argument's sake.
Yeah.
They get a contract to do those, and by the time they approve for funding, it's too late. Is there something that banks can do? Is there something that SAB can do? Moreover, that they are under our incubation program for most of them. Is there a chance or a way that the incubation program can be held responsible and accountable for their clients when they need that funding? Thank you.
Oh, it's an excellent question. Chipo, I'll put it to you. Of course, Celeste raised the invoice financing. Now it's Chipo's baby, but it's fine. We'll pick up. And then, of course, Itu, I'm sure you'd like to comment on that as well. So I'm going to take one more in the front, and then we're going to give the panelists an opportunity, and then hopefully come back for another round. Please go for it.
Yeah, so I suppose mine is a comment plus question, and I mean, it links to what you are saying. I mean, there's various...
Who are you, madam?
From ABSA.
From ABSA.
Yeah, so I think mine is related to the disaggregation of information, right? Because there's various ways in which entrepreneurs can be funded, right? We've got grant funding, we've got revenue-based funding. I mean, for example, we've got a woman and youth entrepreneur proposition that says we can fund up to 5 million rands without requiring collateral, right? But the question is a question of information. So what I'd like to pose to the panelists is, I mean, do you have any thoughts on how we can potentially bring this information to market such that our entrepreneurs are not struggling, in essence, in terms of their businesses? Because the support is there. Banks want to finance. ESD programs are there. But somehow we're struggling to get the information across. Thank you.
Sure. Nonhlanhla, 5 million rands without collateral. I saw some people sitting up straight all of a sudden that weren't sitting up straight before. But, I mean, that's the kind of thing we want to hear. And we want to talk about, and to your question, how do we bring this within reach for women? What do we need to do? So let me work my way. Let me maybe give you an opportunity to respond. There were a couple of comments and questions, but one of the pointed things that you had said you wanted to talk about is from Debbie. Yes. And then, of course, the invoice financing question as well. Over to you.
Okay, so maybe let me start with the lady from ABSA here. It's so funny. I feel like maybe you were a fly on the wall when I was chatting to, I don't know if Sakai is here in the back. She's not here. And some of my Ellen Gray colleagues, I call them colleagues because I spend so much time with them, that we've really been advocating for a platform that aggregates the information. In the past, there's been a mapping study, an ecosystem mapping study that was done by Andy. I don't know if you know Andy, but that's the Aspen network for what?
Aspen network for?
Development, entrepreneurship, blah, blah, blah. We'll share it later. I'm sure Sakai will come back. But they had done a very great snapshot, ecosystem snapshot, where they detailed who is funding what at what stage in the country, right? So we have been engaging with them to see if we can update that so that there is an updated version, because unfortunately the one that's out there is really old. So there are conversations that are happening, and if you want to come on board, ABSA, I think we're looking for more and more partners to update it and ensure that it is a living database where, whenever there are funders that are coming into the space, that we're able to update that in real time so that entrepreneurs such as yourself in the room have access to that information. So I'd love to continue conversations with anyone else, even on this panel, who wants to contribute to that, because there are ongoing conversations.
So I'm watching the two banks. I'm trying to see who's going to take, who's going to bite.
Yeah.
But remember, in the spirit of collaboration, Chipo, you guys can have a conversation together. Okay.
And we don't want to reinvent the wheel because it's already been done. Let's just update what already exists. And then when it comes to the non-monetary, I am so glad you raised it, right?
Indeed.
Because a lot of us are quick to say, I need funding. But in my experiences, when you ask someone, what do you need funding for? And then the crickets in the background, right? So sometimes we haven't really reflected or really understand our business enough to know that maybe funding is not, at that moment in time, is not what you need for your business to propel you to the next stage, right? So we really need to be introspective and look at our business, and then if there are opportunities to collaborate in order to access markets or whatever you're dealing with, then maybe look at it from that perspective. Because trust me, I sit with having granted someone a 1 million rand, for example, and they're sitting and struggling to finish this 1 million.
Sure.
Isn't that insane? Like, they've got 1 million rand ring fence grant. You don't need to repay this. Mara, there is no clear plan in terms of how they are going to spend that money. So financing is not always, I think, important. But let's look at the other non-monetary things that we can access, such as mentorship, something that is underplayed but very critical in moving your business forward. And also access to technical expertise. Some of us are in farming. I see this young lady is wearing, I'm assuming she's in farming, and maybe she needs some technical expertise, maybe her crop is not growing right. Who in the ecosystem is able to provide that support, right? So it's not always funding, and I'm glad you raised that. I'm going to leave maybe the other purchase order question, because I think I'm talking too much to my colleagues on the
You're
panel.
not talking too much. You've done a great job. Thank you very much. And actually, before I move on, Itu, how does the conversation go when you're saying to an entrepreneur, it's not funding that you need? Because I can imagine the frustration of, oh no, but that's what I'm supposed to be asking for. I mean, can you just give us a little bit of input advice around how do you hear that so that it becomes something that helps you to actually make progress and then come back at the right time?
Yeah. So the one thing that we do, and I don't know, maybe the other panelists can share how they approach it, but we do a SME diagnostic tool right at the very beginning. So we do that exercise to try and understand your business and also the gaps that exist within that business, right? And often that will tell us what are the major issues, and if you have any maybe assets, or if you have any liabilities. And by liabilities, I'm not talking in a financial sense, but things that you need to get rid of, right, that are not contributing positively to your business. And so that exercise gives us a better idea of where you are as a business, but also where you are as an individual, as an entrepreneur. Because I think most often than not, we couple the entrepreneur and the business together. But for me, those are two different things, right? Because an entrepreneur requires a different type of support sometimes from what the business requires.
Sure.
Right? So we can give you an analysis of you as an individual and also where your business is at. And that's where those conversations start, right? To say, we think having this information in front of us, having analyzed it, that this is maybe the path that you need to take. And then we'll work together and putting together a development plan for the business. And then from that, we would then develop the key kind of milestones and metrics that we're going to be measuring along the way. And I think once a business owner has all of that information in front of them, then they're able to kind of buy in terms of what then needs to happen next. But you can't do that in isolation. So it's a process, and it's a conversation that needs to happen, a two-way conversation. And then we then work on what then is required to move your business forward. And that's how we've approached it.
I think that's really powerful, to get feedback on you and the business, and to see those two things as separate. Because I think oftentimes we as especially as small business entrepreneurs, believe that we are the business. And I think that's where mentorship actually becomes very important, because though you're having different conversations. Kgaugelo, I'm keen to hear your thoughts on what, firstly, Debbie is waiting for you. So after here, because Debbie wants to raise support and capital and incubation support for her entrepreneurs in Mamelodi. So I'm keen to hear your comments on that. But I also would love to hear the mentorship program. We hear mentorship a lot. And sometimes we even start hearing the view that, hey, are we not over-mentored now? So I'd love to hear your thoughts on the case for mentorship and why it's still important.
All right. Hi, Debbie. So we actually do have an Ekasi Lab facility in Mamelodi. And what we have done there is that we have created small manufacturing spaces to actually accommodate our incubated companies who do not have manufacturing facilities. And as we understand that, when you're operating in the township, there aren't many industrial hubs or industrial spaces. So Tosh Detergents is one of our participants who has been granted a manufacturing facility rent-free for the past 2 years. So those are some of the support services that we provide our incubated companies, because we do understand that it's not just, financing that they require, but things like, access to manufacturing space that will enhance their manufacturing capabilities, and to also ensure that they are compliant and certified is one of the critical parts of their business journey. And what we can then do to support your organization, Debbie, is that we are constantly seeking entrepreneurs and innovators that actually have solutions that address social and environmental issues. And I would like for us to have a discussion after this session on how we can collaborate, because what we do in the various areas is that we do collaborate with a lot of local youth forums just to try and acquire the right candidates that actually have those solutions that we are looking for, that we are able to accelerate and actually assist in growing. So I would really like for us to have a further discussion on that and provide, the entrepreneurs in your pool the opportunities that they require. And in terms of mentorship is one of, the key fundamental areas that we provide small businesses. And what we do as well, similar to SAB, is that we have an assessment tool that we use when we onboard our companies. And that assessment tool provides us with an indicator of where the gaps are. And that then becomes an informed decision of us then allocating and appointing a mentor for a specific company. So the gaps would either be between the business side of things or it would be the technical aspect. So it becomes an informed decision, and that's why we don't just dish it out, but it's a matter of, assessment and tracking where the entrepreneur is at and in terms of their solution as well. And then that's when we make that recommendation of mentorship. So it's very critical because that will also yield to the success of the business operation.
So what I love about what you're saying is data-driven mentorship that starts off with understanding your gaps and your journey and then matching on the back of that. And I think I was being quite a bit cheeky, in terms of saying, are we over-mentored? And the reason why I said that is because I think mentorship, to some extent, has received a bad rep. It's become about vibes and just being seen. And we're not understanding the strategic significance of what mentorship can achieve. If it's based on data, if it's based on having understood the gaps, and it's being based on being intentional about matching the mentor and the mentee. So let me just get a show of hands in the room. Who has a mentor today that they feel truly understands their journey and is helping them to close real gaps? I'm seeing 2 hands, 3, okay? 4 at the back. Guys, let me clarify. I'm not talking about the mentors at the high teas that you've been attending in August and taking pictures with. I'm not talking about that, right? So it's important, ladies, thank you very much. It's important to acknowledge this moment for ourselves and to build on what we've heard and to ask ourselves the question, where do I go to have a deeper understanding of what my gaps are? Because remember, your gaps are your blind spots. It's the stuff you're not seeing as the person in the business. And sometimes what happens is we're working so deeply in the business, we lose sight of working on the business. And so you need a mentor to highlight and bring visibility to those gaps. And that's when mentorship actually matters, and that's when it becomes valuable. So it's another provocation that I'm throwing back to all of us in the room, and that is to say, let me go get a mentor. And let me open up myself to the possibility that this person is going to firstly highlight gaps. That's going to be uncomfortable. But more importantly, I can't close a gap I don't know about. And so you'll be able to close those gaps intentionally. So thank you both to yourself and Itu, just for bringing in the mentorship thread into the conversation. Chipo, I want to use the words Martha used. It all comes in a little too late. And that's a difficult thing to hear, because we know the pain of a missed opportunity when you've seen what could have translated. And I suppose I want to repurpose the question to, do you think we're getting better? Can we get better at the turnaround time around these invoice financing? And how could we get better? Is there anything we can do about the turnaround time?
We are definitely getting better. And what I can say is a lot of banks, including Nedbank.
I think they can't hear you at the back. I'm going to ask you just to project a little bit more.
I'm going to do that right now.
All
right, cool. So definitely we are getting much better at what we're doing. And when you think about invoice factoring, discounting, or purchase order financing, banks, particularly Nedbank, do understand that small businesses need to be settled early. I can tell you that all the small businesses that are suppliers to Nedbank get settled in 48 hours. And that's a standard procurement rule that we have as Nedbank and as a business. So that's us doing our bit for society. But also, where we understand that there might be delays, we partner quite a bit. Collaborations with other fintech businesses that are able to deploy the capital much quicker and have much quicker turnaround processes. So that is what we do from a Nedbank perspective. We're getting so much better. And I really want to say that when it comes to money, money has no gender. And I really think it's important for us to just come to terms with that. And I say that because if everything ticks the boxes, whether it's a bank, whether it's an incubation hub, whether it's an ESD fund, you need to make sure that your ducks are in a row. Dot your I's, cross your T's, you are going to get the money. The money is available. And as an entrepreneur, you just need to settle in your mind and heart that you're going to go out and you're going to actively seek out the knowledge and the content that we spoke about. A lot of us start businesses and we just talk within the same circle that we grew up in. Those people don't know like you don't know, right? You need to go out there. The owner of a business is the salesperson. You are the biggest salesperson. You are the business development manager. And what I see with a lot of entrepreneurs is they lack that. And like we said, the information is there, the money is there. Go out, seek it where you've got gaps. Apply and invest yourself in understanding how to improve your skill set. We don't want to read. We don't want to research. And that's where we get lost. Coming into a setting like this, you're going to get highlights. There's so much more that you need to do to get to a point where you qualify for any of the funding tools and mechanisms that are available through this panel. And you just need to apply yourself. And I really want to settle and leave that in the room for all the entrepreneurs.
I think it's a powerful provocation, and it's an invitation. And I think I probably said the word agencies too many times already today. But that's all it really is about, exercising our agency, doing what you can with what you have. And part of that is the reading, the researching, and following up on the things that you know are available out there. So Celeste, the question that I want to put to you is from Sponsile, where she was saying, can you share a little bit more around your journey of setting up a training college? Because her interest is actually not only on the artisanal skills, but also on the business skills. And can we do more of that?
Thank you for that. I was so pleased when you raised that, and I got so excited when you said you wanted to start that. I want to start by saying sometimes society fails us as women. And why I say that is, when you're a little girl, you need to sit prim and proper, all dressed up, and you weren't maybe encouraged to go out and play and get dirty and do all of those things that the boys could do. And I feel that we've been done a disservice in that regard. The other thing that I do want to highlight is we place a lot of emphasis on education, and that's not wrong. But I'm talking about degrees, diplomas. A lot of emphasis is placed on that. However, what happened with COVID, that was a life-changing, mind-blowing experience. And it turned the entire world upside down. And why I bring this in is because I'm very passionate about uplifting the profile of an artisan. They do important work. And so they need to be celebrated. They need to be recognized. However, what I often see is when you see an artisan with his toolbox and he gets into a lift with people that work in the office building, you'll see immediately they'll take a step back. And I always want to know why. Because you've got a different set of skills, and my plumber that's coming to fix has got a different set of skills as well. And so I found that with COVID, what happened was there were many businesses that were closed. There were many professionals that were laid off without work. However, our artisans, they were essential services, and they were earning a living every day for their family. And so we need to rethink that concept of education and technical skills. We really, really do. The other thing that I want to highlight is where I come from in the Western Cape, on the Cape Flats, in the location, many times there are households with single parents, and obviously always 10 to 1, the mother. Father's missing, she needs to support her family. She needs to bring in an income, but now she sits without a skill. What would have happened if society had encouraged her to go and play and get dirty? She would have been encouraged to go and get a skill that she can support her own family. And so we really need to get to grassroots. The other thing that I would love to extend is, let's do a Zoom call. I would love for you to do that. There's a lot of information that needs to be exchanged. I'll even go one step further to say, when you're in Cape Town, come and visit us. Come and see how it's done. I especially wanted women in the space to feel safe. Women in South Africa go through the most. Really, really we do. From GBV to barriers of entry, all of those things, very sad. And so the training college that we set up was with women in mind, with a space, because women learn differently. What about the women that fall pregnant? Is there a space for them to come back? You know, so all of those need to be considered. The other thing is, I want to encourage the lady in the lovely green suit. You were saying, where are the women in construction? So one of my one of the things that I do is I sit on the board of the Construction Industry Development Board. And so many of you that work for government or public spaces, you know what that is. And so what we do at CIDB is we have an award every year, and that is the empowerment and recognition of women in construction. And you're sitting with a winner right next to you on the table, at your table. And so what we do is we want to celebrate that women in construction. And the weird thing is when you go to the events and you see their profiles, they are in their boots, they are in their hats, they are in safety gear. Hello?
Yeah,
No, I'm
there
back.
you go.
And then on the evening, so you see all of those pictures, and they are on site, but when they come to the ward that night, it's a completely different picture. And isn't that true about us as women? We are adaptable and agile that way. And we need to take advantage of those innate skills.
Beautifully said, Celeste. Thank you very much. So I can't believe that it's 2:55. And I know that 3 o'clock we must all be moving. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my panelists on the spot to give me a billboard, right? So panelists, it's a billboard, ne? It's not an executive summary. It's not a thesis. It's not a story. It's a billboard. I'm going to ask you to give me a billboard. And this billboard is the one piece of advice that you have for all the women leaving here today. But I'm going to make it a little bit easier. I'm going to give you the words you need to start with so that it doesn't go to OR Tambo International and back, right? And the words are this: Dear women in trade. And you've got to complete the sentence. Dear woman in trade. And you've got to complete the sentence. Kgaugelo was looking at me dead in the eye. And because typically when I do this, the ones who are most nervous look away. So Itu is not giving me any eye contact right now. And the ones that are most confident look me dead in the eye. So I'll go to you, Kgaugelo, first. And you get to complete the sentence for us. Dear woman in trade.
Dear women in trade, as much as you are in a male-dominant industry, you are powerful and you're capable, and you have it in you to actually create greatness because you are great.
Whoa. It's a beautiful billboard. Alan Gray Makerspace, you're going to have to pay for that one because that's an extra big one. But I thought it was a beautiful message. And Kgaugelo, thank you so much for everything that you've delivered and left in this room for all of us. Let me swing over this way. Who's looking? Okay, let me go to Chipo. Celeste, I'll give you, as the woman in trades, I'll give you the last word. Chipo, dear woman in trade.
Dear women in trade, there's money out there and you're worth every cent.
I think I can just say goodbye now at this stage. Dear woman in trade, there is money out there and you're worth every cent. Thank you, Chipo. Itu. Dear woman in trade.
Dear woman in trade, you are a job creator. You are contributing to the economy of this country. Never underestimate your power.
Woo! Let's give a big round of applause for Itu. Dear woman in trade, you are a job creator. You are contributing to the economy of this country. You are never underestimate your power. So Celeste, you get to take us home. Why am I getting goosebumps?
No pressure.
Dear woman in trade.
Dear woman in trade.
dear woman in trade, do not neglect your intuition. It is powerful and it serves you well. Remember that remember that financial roadblocks are only pit stops. They are not the destination. You'll be
Remember that financial roadblocks are only pit stops. They're not the destination. So I asked the technical team for something. I said to them, there's this song, man, I want to play, but I'm not sure when I'm going to play it. And no, not to sing, to play. And it feels like this is the moment. Have you guys got me?
Looks like a girl, but she's a flame.
Come on, join me.
So bright she can burn your eyes. Better look the other way. You can try, but you'll never forget her name. She's on top of the world, hottest of the hottest girls. Say, oh, we got our feet on the ground and we're burning it down. Oh, got our head in the clouds and we're not coming down. This girl is on fire. This girl is on fire. She's walking on fire. This girl is on fire.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
Everybody stand
Woo-hoo!
so you can see the flame that's in her eyes.
Can I give my panelists a big, big round of applause, please?
And to the lovely, lovely moderator, I think she also deserves a round of applause. So I just want to quickly direct you to the next panel discussions that are going to be happening. Just across this room, just please settle for a second. I know you guys are excited. I will be quick, I promise.